Hey everyone, welcome to the program, WRSA Radio. I'm your host, G1. As always, hope you're having a good week. It's been a busy one for me, getting all caught up with schoolwork and other things. I did, however, have time to pay attention to the news so that I can make you another great episode for you beautiful people. Well, what do we have on the menu this week? There's a lot to choose from. We have the government shutdown insanity. We have the Antifa, anti-ICE protester insanity. We have the continued death and destruction in Gaza, including the Greta flotilla insanity. In other words, it's crazy all around, so let's go with crazy first. I want to start with the government shutdown. Honestly, I don't care. I can't really gather the mental fortitude to give two shits about this because it's all fake and gay. It's all theater. It's meaningless political wrangling that has no real chance of changing the outcome. Okay, years ago this was far more of a big deal, but they've done it every year. They've not passed a budget in 28 years or something like that. They just keep voting on these continuing resolutions. And almost every year it's, oh, we're going to have a shutdown. Oh, we're going to have a shutdown. They just keep printing money, flushing it down the drain, robbing us of our purchasing power, and continuing to dig the hole of debt all the way to China, ironically, as the old saying goes. At this point, I want the government to completely shut down. Fire everybody. And I say that with the full knowledge that it would compound my personal struggle, my personal work situation, make it far more difficult for me to find a full-time job because I would be competing with hundreds of thousands of prior government employees. But do it. Do it anyway. I know that going in. Do it. Fire them all. I've just grown so tired of hearing about this bogus budget BS game. Now we know that's not going to happen. Of course, Trump may get some legal or administrative advantage from this, that when the shutdown happens, he can furlough, or not furlough, but fire people outright instead of furlough, so that he avoids some court cases. But we all know that's still going to be challenged in court because apparently the president does not have the power to fire anyone unless a judge agrees with him. You know, separation of powers or domestic tranquility or the Commerce Clause or something, my Constitution. They just invent it out of thin air and swear it's written in there somewhere. If we just keep digging it, we'll find it. We're ruled by black-robed warlocks and their courts, among other nefarious forces. But there is an upside, though. The more that people grow tired of this bullshit, and the more that they see all of this unfolding, the more willing that they will be to accept what is really going to need to be done to set things right. Silver linings and everything. At least that's kind of how we have to look at stuff. Speaking of setting things right, let's travel now to Portlandia, the mythical liberal paradise. The ICE facility there in Portland, and as an aside, also in Chicago, although less of a problem than Portland, the ICE facility there has been under siege by lunatic Antifa anarchists and their communist fellow travelers for about 100 or so odd days and nights. There are intrepid amateur journalists who have endeavored to provide video coverage of what is taking place there on an almost nightly basis, but generally you don't see this being covered in the mainstream media. There are local reports that happen there in Portland that make their way to the internet every once in a while, and you can see the local news covering it. But this is something that's just avoided and generally not acknowledged by mainstream media. There is a literal camp of homeless anarchists who seem to travel from one protest to another so that they can live off the donation of these idiot leftists who think that they're the Rebel Alliance, fighting the Empire with their Venmo accounts. Use your debit card, Luke. They're just out there for the lulz, I guess you could say, for the free food. And these people scream and flash lights and play loud music and sirens and all kinds of other disruptive methods to try and cause problems for the ICE agents in the building. Now, at one point, they smashed in the windows and tried to storm the building, but they were pushed out, and many of them were arrested for their troubles. So now the entire bottom floor of the building is fortified and boarded up. And all they're doing is succeeding in disrupting the lives of the people who live around the building. And this has caused President Trump to finally unleash the National Guard, or at least more law enforcement onto them, and maybe they will finally get a handle on this. Now, these people, they attack anyone who tries to film them in some shape or fashion. I mean, people who are deliberately trying to film them, or just happen to be down there taking photos or whatever. If they think that you might be even neutral in your coverage, they will go after the person filming. You have to be someone who is lockstep in agreement and presenting them in the most appropriate or most positive light, somebody that they know to be left unmolested down there filming. They flash lights into the camera, or they try to block the camera with umbrellas. They'll go after the person filming. This week, a young YouTuber was threatened by an Antifa guy. This just happened the other night, who pushed him off, followed him, told him he had to leave, pushed him away. This is public space. This is public sidewalk. And he's telling him he has to leave. And that if he does come back, that he's going to, quote, smoke him. The guy only stopped harassing this YouTuber when an ICE sniper put a laser on his chest. Okay, so go find that video. It's kind of humorous the way that this ended. I don't know if the sniper happened to be watching the live stream that this kid was pumping out while he was walking around, and saw it and said, "Hey, I see what's going on. I'm going to put a laser on that dude." Or what was going on there. Maybe he just saw the kid being harassed. But it was very timely, and it kind of drove home the point enough that the guy beat feet and retreated. But it's insane that we have to have that level of intervention in a public space just for people to be walking around down there with a GoPro. This is the level of insanity that we're going, that's going on here. And I've spoken about it before with these anarchists and nihilists. They don't care that their actions further isolate them and are detrimental to their cause. Anyone with an ounce of logic would be open or welcome conversations, okay? They would have someone who is, intelligent and rational, that would seek out these people that were filming and engage them in conversation to try and get, their side of the story out there and present their side in the most positive and productive and beneficial manner. These YouTubers are not big media, okay? They can be interacted with, and you can have a reasonable expectation that they will not manipulate videos or manipulate the conversation. And you can have your own people, someone who's sympathetic to you, film these interactions and release your own version of it, to document what happened if you think that they're going to distort it or whatever. Most of these YouTubers are streaming. It's a live stream. You can't manipulate the live stream, okay? So this should be something that you see as being a positive control of the narrative and a way to get your message out there. But that's not what these people do. They go out of their way to block cameras and physically assault anyone that they don't recognize that tries to film them. And they do this in the most idiotic fashion, that is encroaching on the personal space and violating the rights of those who are filming in public. You don't have to talk to the people filming you at all. But you do got to respect their personal space and not get an inch from their nose or an inch from their camera with an umbrella trying to block their view. They have a right to be there, have a right to walk around, and it's public. They have a right to film. You don't have an expectation of privacy there. But they don't care how bad or how stupid this makes them look, or how it alienates people to their cause and their methods. They don't seem to understand that it further isolates them. No one is sympathetic to how they behave. No one is really going to lament when armed agents are set loose upon these people. They just don't seem to understand how they're being maneuvered into this position by people further up their political food chain, because they're so committed to their neurotic political fantasy that they can't comprehend that they're useful idiots and they're being sacrificed in a bigger game. Their own political affiliations are going to be glad to see them gone. They'll get as much, soundbite and outrage as they can from them, but it just saves them the trouble of having to deal with them down the road. They don't want to mess with these lunatics. They'd rather have Trump manipulated into crushing them. And don't get me wrong, they need crushing. But understand when that happens, there's going to be a lot of media fallout from that. But speaking of lunatics, let's jump over to Israel and Gaza. The latest is that Trump has a peace plan, and supposedly Benny Netanyahu has agreed to it, at least in principle, and they're trying to get Hamas on board with it. Look for the Israelis to break that deal as soon as they can if they're not getting everything that they want from it, or Hamas to reject it if it's too favorable to Israel. But I digress. So I don't really see much coming out of that, but we'll see how it happens or what plays out. What I want to look at today is the Greta flotilla. Okay, this is the fleet of boats and small ships that are supposedly carrying relief aid to the people of Gaza, which is great. Okay, I think that's fine. Something that actually is productive for Greta Thunberg to be doing with her time, rather than, chasing imaginary climate change demons or whatever. So good for her. At least she seems to be doing something that could actually help some people. Israel, however, claims that this is a big problem because, the flotilla is carrying weapons, according to them. So, just hours ago, while I was preparing the show, they raided this flotilla and boarded a number of the boats. There are some that are still, on their way convoying to Gaza, but they've stopped something like 20 or 30 of these boats and boarded them, and they've been arresting people, including Greta. They're transporting these people that they've arrested to Israel and deporting them. And apparently some of the boats have been sunk. Now, I don't know yet if they were sunk by the people that were on board the boats or sunk by the Israelis. That remains to be seen. We don't know yet. But at any rate, I have a big problem with this. This is kind of, in effect, piracy, because it took place 40 miles out to sea. This was not, or 20 miles out to sea. This was not in Israeli territorial waters. And let me be clear, I don't have a problem with them stopping the boats to confirm that, they are indeed carrying relief supplies. This is food, water, medical, shelter, this kind of thing. It's legit. It's Red Cross type, aid to people. I don't have a problem with them stopping to search the boats and confirm that. And even if they decided, let's stop the boats and then let's turn them away, okay, that's fine too. You don't got a right to board these boats and arrest these people in international waters. If they had some hard evidence that there were weapons on board, okay, I don't blame them for stopping it. But let's be real here. These leftists who put this flotilla together, they're not your stupid Antifa level leftist. They're not dumb enough to put weapons on the boats. That would completely destroy their narrative and validate what Israel is saying. There's no way that this fleet is carrying anything like that. So Israel is basing their actions on prior happenings because Iran or other nations have tried to smuggle weapons into Gaza in the past. And they say this gives them the right to board and kidnap these people from ships out in international waters, even though they're not affiliated with Iran. We're not talking about drug smugglers or terrorists trying to sneak into the country or something like that. These are activists and leftists. And yes, I realize that there sometimes is an overlap between those two groups, but still, it's this kind of do whatever we want attitude that is on display here by Israel that is the problem. It's just more immoral behavior. We know this has nothing to do with weapons and everything to do with keeping the people of Gaza from having anything that might prolong their stay there. Israel wants to eject them from the land, and they are not going to allow anything to stop them from doing that. I've talked about this before. Where are those people going to go? None of the Arab countries are stepping up to take them in, so you know where that leaves us. You know where those people are going. And I'm not even going to get into the whole debate about who owns the land originally. I think that is a Gordian knot that we will never resolve. It's the practical aspects of the whole thing. They are systematically killing and displacing these people, and the U.S. is standing by and allowing it because greatest ally and Schofield Bible. Okay, it's deplorable. And I may make some of you pissed off by taking that position, but it is what it is. I don't like it one bit, and I don't think we should have anything to do with it. We should be telling Israel that if you persist down this road, you are on your own. We will not provide you money or the means to continue this fight. But that, of course, will never happen, which is really the most galling aspect of this whole thing. The entire situation stinks because it continues to remind us of how broken and occupied our political system is. Any other country in the world doing this, the United States is up in arms, literally talking invasion. But this tiny little shithole country vampires blood and treasure from us because they have so infiltrated and brainwashed our political class that at all layers of the government, they are the ones who are the most influential, the ones that are the most represented. It's not you or I. We're nothing but wage slaves and a source of energy for them. It's also tiresome, and I so want it to be over. And maybe the world is so wicked and lost that we do need a sweet meteor of death to reset the whole thing. And I wish it were not so, and I hope I'm just being melancholy this week as we head into the fall season, because it's about that time of the year. But I don't know. But as I always say, I try to leave you on a positive note. So on the positive side, I think the government shutdown happening, we can put some of these war rumors to rest, because I don't think that even the Israelis can get us into another Iran conflict if no one is getting paid and we don't have the money to buy more missile defense ammunition. So maybe we got that going for us. They're going to have to solve that little problem before they kick off anything else over there. Anyway, that is all I have time for this week. Like and subscribe. Come see us over on Gab, Nice Crew, and the Mothership, and I will see you on the next episode.